quite astonishing, these moves. It's getting worse this morning, not better. Biggest one-day move in Hong Kong since the financial crisis. Is that the scale of threat that the economy faces as well?
Well, we'd obviously rather not be in this place, and we were disappointed by the global imposition of tariffs. I think what we need to do at this point in time is to have cool heads. We are obviously working through our negotiations with the US in terms of a wider trade agreement, but it's in nobody's best interests for there to be an escalating trade war where tariffs are constantly being ratcheted up. And it's why the Prime Minister is totally right to have said that we need to move faster and go further to support British manufacturing. And that is why today we are making the changes to the zero-emission vehicles mandate.
I want to get into that. And I note your point as well that, you know, cool heads, UK versus US discussions, and we'll see where those end up. But clearly, the two biggest economies in the world are not taking cool heads. They're retaliating against each other, leading to a bloodbath in markets. I guess it's a big picture question, regardless of what we here in the UK do. Are we now facing a global recession?
So the imposition of global tariffs and the reciprocal tariffs that some countries have and retaliatory tariffs that some countries have decided to apply are bad news for the global economy, because it's bad for global demand, it's bad for prices, and it's bad for consumers. And so that is why we have to do everything that we can to protect the interests of the British people and British businesses. And that is why we are setting out a package of support today for the car industry to provide certainty to British manufacturers and to ensure that they can remain at the cutting edge of the transition to electric vehicles, and also make sure that consumers can benefit from the cheaper running costs of electric vehicles as well. And so that's why the Prime Minister has been clear that we need to do absolutely everything we can as a government to shelter British businesses from these global economic headwinds.
OK, so what are the details of what you're changing today?
So we are being clear that we are maintaining the 2030 phase-out date for the sale of new petrol and diesel vehicles. That was a commitment that we made in the manifesto. You'll remember that the last government kept chopping and changing. Rishi Sunak U-turned on his own policy, didn't he? Which saw demand for EVs, electric vehicles, drop by about 15%. So we're saying that we are providing certainty to industry with that 2030 phase-out date. We are also allowing the sale of full hybrids, cars like the Toyota Prius and the Nissan e-Power, to be sold through to 2035, and also confirming that we will allow the sale of plug-in hybrids to be sold through to that date. We're exempting small manufacturers, small British manufacturers from the same set of rules. So British brands, luxury brands such as Bentley or McLaren or Lotus or even the old Caterhams, that they don't have to comply with the same set of rules. We're reducing fines for the car manufacturers if they can't comply with the headline targets in the zero-emission vehicle mandate. And we're also giving car manufacturers different flexibilities so that they can, if they're performing well in making the rest of their car fleet cleaner by reducing carbon emissions in the petrol and diesel vehicles that they're still selling through to 2030, that they can use that overperformance there to count towards the achievement of the headline trajectory in the zero emissions vehicle mandate.
I mean, it all, to me, sounds very complicated, tweaks to various sets of rules. And I think it'd be fair to say that if you're announcing anything in this area, that the auto industry in this country will look at this and say, oh gosh, you're keeping this 2030 mandate, which is a big restriction on free markets, as opposed to removing it at a time when the car industry is on its knees. Was that a consideration?
So if you look at the response of the car manufacturers today, I know that Jaguar Land Rover, who is one of the big companies that is affected by the imposition of the 25% tariffs on cars, they have come out and supported the changes that we have made today, it is an opportunity for the car industry to remain at the cutting edge of the transition to EVs. But it's right that we're pragmatic. It's right that we are looking at how we can be flexible in the way in which car manufacturers make this transition, because we want cheaper EVs to be available for consumers. We want people to be able to benefit from those lower running costs as well. And so it's important that as a government we do everything that we can, not only to support British businesses and manufacturing, to grow the economy, but also to cut those carbon emissions. And I think we've struck the right balance in the package that we're announcing today.
So clearly that's a set of measures focused on one particular industry. Meanwhile, obviously the whole economy and markets around the world are hit by what's going on. Is it unfortunate timing that the increase on NIC for businesses comes into play today, this week, after what happened last week?
So we've been very clear about why we have had to ask businesses to deal with increased employers' national insurance contributions. It's absolutely vital that we got the additional investment into the NHS, £26 billion extra going into the NHS, which has seen waiting lists for hospital appointments fall for the last 5 months in a row. And so we realise that we're asking a lot of businesses at the moment. I would just point out that 43% of employers won't pay national insurance contributions this year. We did make some changes to support the smallest businesses, but it's absolutely vital if we're going to get that investment in our public services, which is the mandate that we were elected on at the last election. We have had to be clear about where that money is coming from.
Is there any consideration to relax the fiscal rules given this world-changing set of events?
So our commitment to the fiscal rules are non-negotiable. We believe in sound management of the public finances, and we can't have a situation going forward where, as a country, we are spending routinely more on a year-on-year basis on our sort of day-to-day costs than the money that we've got coming in through tax receipts. And so you do have to balance the books. Rachel Reeves has been right to focus on that, because we saw what happened when Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng took a reckless and cavalier approach to the budget a couple of years ago. We saw the markets descend into utter turmoil, and it was people who had mortgages who were or who were trying to buy homes who ended up paying the price of that. And so that is why we have said the fiscal rules are non-negotiable. We are going to manage the public finances in a sound and sensible way, and that's what this government is doing.
And just finally, if I may, two MPs were detained by Israel and sent home. Now that they're back, any further clarity on exactly what happened there?
So I haven't spoken to either Abtesam or Juan myself. I know that the Foreign Secretary yesterday said that it was absolutely unacceptable and counterproductive. And so, look, I hope to catch up with them. It was disgraceful, really, what Kemi Badenoch was saying as well yesterday. And I think there are some issues which should transcend party politics, and I think this is one of them.
And is ultimately Israel empowered to do this? Is a decision for them, one way or another, or not?
So countries are in control of their own borders, but I think parliamentarians, respected parliamentarians who are going on fact-finding missions, I understand that this visit was looking at potentially aid in the region. I think that seems like a very reasonable thing for a respected politicians such as Juan and Abtesam to be doing, and I was very, very sorry to see the way that they were treated.
Heidi Alexander, always a pleasure. Thanks for stopping by.
You.
Good to see you. The Transport Secretary with us there.